Hi, this is Rod. This is PhD student advice. I have been helping PhD students for many years via email, WhatsApp, and Skype. I also teach part-time at the university. So this is another video about problems PhD students experience which no one talks about. As I've noted in previous videos, PhD problems are very important learning steps. It's part of the whole process of doing a PhD. So I would suggest you quit trying to avoid PhD problems. Stop trying to avoid them. No problems equals no learning. So stop avoiding the problems. Just tackle them head on. Look at it this way. Each problem you solve is a step closer to getting your doctorate, right? So today we're going to look at problems which are not written about, are not spoken about, and today we're going to look at problems between you, the student, the PhD student, and your PhD supervisor. This is one of the most common forms of problems I get or I receive from my students. They tell me, and I get so many students who come to me for advice, who become clients of mine, and a majority of their problems are somehow connected or related to their supervisor. So today we're going to address this and have a look at some of the reasons why this is a problem. Okay, so what do I mean by these type of problems? Let me give you an example of what type of supervisor problems are out there, which very rarely get discussed or talked about, and certainly you don't really get in textbooks and on videos. You must remember that good communication and also good relationship with your supervisor are essential tools, are critically essential to the successful completion of your PhD program. I want to just mention this to you. Maybe this will help you to understand the type of problems that are experienced out there in the PhD environment. A few months ago, I was working alongside a foreign PhD student, and I've been working with her for about 2 years, guiding her through the initial stages of weekly assignments. And she got basically straight A's or very close to A's or A pluses right throughout the assignment stage. And she had now qualified and met all the credit criteria to start writing her dissertation proposal. And it was at this stage we hit a really serious problem. I might mention that I had noticed throughout this 2-year period that she had avoided direct contact with me. She spoke to me usually via email or texting via WhatsApp, but she never really wanted to call me. And when I offered to speak to her directly, she kind of made excuses. I also discovered in those 2 years she never ever once had one phone call with any supervisor. Not once. To be honest, I never asked her why. I now admit I should have done. I should have known. But in fact, in hindsight, it's always easy, right? To look at things that what could have happened or should have done, but at the time, it didn't really occur to me there was a serious problem. I just thought it was a preference. She just wanted to communicate only by email or by text with myself or with the supervisor. So when I wanted to chat with her via Skype or WhatsApp, she had always made an excuse. She was from Africa, and she was a very smart lady, very intelligent. But she had a serious problem that at that time I didn't know about, which I'm going to tell you right now, and maybe this gels with you. Remember, many of my students are foreign students, studying in the US and the UK and so on. When I did finally speak with her, actually on the phone, it was at the beginning of the dissertation proposal stage, I suddenly realized I couldn't understand what she was saying. I literally couldn't understand it. She was speaking English. I couldn't understand hardly a word of what she was saying. At the same time, At that time, I might mention, I had noticed in her supervisor's feedback that he had requested her to call him. And a few days later, she still hadn't called him. I began to wonder why. So that's why I called her via WhatsApp and spoke to her via WhatsApp video. And as I said, I couldn't understand her. I couldn't understand her. Her accent was so difficult to understand. So after repeated attempts to hear what she's saying, I finally realized what the problem was with her supervisor. Because as I noticed in the subsequent feedback, the supervisor had said, repeated again, please call me. He insisted. So this time she did finally call him. Result, you can imagine the conversation. By the way, she recorded it. She sent it to me. It lasted a couple of minutes. And to be honest, it was a disaster. To be fair to the supervisor, he did try. He tried very hard. He kept asking her to repeat almost every word. It must have been pretty stressful for him to keep doing this. By the way, in the next supervisor feedback, in her dissertation proposal, he asked her to get an interpreter. Yes. Yeah, you've heard me. An interpreter. I thought after all these years, I'd seen it and heard it all. An interpreter. Can you believe that? And you could tell from the feedback, the way he wrote, that he wasn't happy. He wasn't a happy chappy at all. I also felt a bit guilty, to be honest, because as an ESL teacher for 15 years, what I mean by ESL, I taught foreign students how to communicate and speak English using like IELTS and TOEFL and SAT and GMAT and so on to help foreign students apply to UK and US universities and get in. And I could have helped with her communication skills as an ESL, with my experience as an ESL teacher, over that initial 2-year period when she was writing her assignments, gaining credits. You probably don't have this problem, speaking problem. You can be clearly understood what you're saying. But if you do need help with those type of skill sets, you know what to do, right? Just contact me, look below the video, check me out, email me, or contact me via my websites. So, let me just emphasize this. All PhD students must have good English skills. They must be able to speak clearly to their supervisor. It's absolutely essential. You may think in the first 2 years or so when you're doing the assignments, you don't need to. Let me tell you, when you hit the big stage, when you're on your dissertation, you have to talk to your supervisor. And when you complete a dissertation, excuse me, you most definitely have to defend it verbally, speaking to a panel. I know this may sound rather extreme, but this is where I want to encourage you to contact me. If you've got communication issues, or if you simply don't understand what the heck the supervisor's talking about in the feedback or whatever, contact me. That's where I can help you. You see, another issue regarding supervisor feedback, which can be so difficult to understand, especially for foreign students. Sometimes I've seen it, and I've even seen feedback which even I don't understand. And I've been doing this for years. For example, supervisors use words you've never even heard of. They use vague language. It's not specific. So you don't know what they really mean. And how many times have you looked at supervisor feedback and you've had no idea what they wanted you to do? So here's what you do. Here's a strategy for you to overcome this problem which people just don't talk about. First, request a meeting. It could be face-to-face, it could be Skype, WhatsApp, whatever. And remember, tell them up front what you want to talk about. Make sure you're clear about what the meeting's about. Why? Because they will be prepared. It's very important that. Don't catch your supervisor on the wrong foot. They don't know what you're there for. Make sure you tell them up front. And when you're in the meeting, or when you talk to them via Skype or WhatsApp, ask them to explain further what they mean, or what they meant in that feedback. Keep asking. In fact, even better, prepare a list of questions about it, so that you don't say, what do you mean? That's pointless saying that. Rather ask them, do you mean this, or did you mean this? And that way you'll elicit explanations out of your supervisor. And by the way, at all times, be respectful. Don't argue with them. Ask questions, but don't argue. It's a big difference. Be careful. And also, my friend, record the conversation. Very important. So you can go back and pick up on things you can't remember. And also, I would suggest at the same time, have a few other questions. There must be other questions or things or challenges you are tackling. You're a PhD student, remember? It's part of your life. So why not bring a few of those with you? And by the way, make sure you smile a lot and show an interest in them. Show an interest in them, in who they are. If you're actually physically in the same room as them, maybe comment about a picture on the wall. If you're on Skype or in WhatsApp video, you should say something like, for example, Mr. Supervisor, you're so busy. I really appreciate you sharing your time with me. Something like that, just to create a setting which is warm. And also, when the conversation is finished, please thank them. In fact, you should thank them at the end of every conversation. In fact, thank them at the end of their every comment, or every time you said that you get a reply or comments back from work you've submitted. Make sure at the bottom of the comment you actually thank them, even if you don't understand the comment. Thank them. And then maybe say something like, I would appreciate if I can spend a few minutes of your time discussing this, as I don't fully understand it. Something like that. So my friend, please contact me if you need some free advice. It's what I do every day. This is my life. I do it every day. I love what I do. Don't wait until you fail a course. Cost thousands of dollars to retake a course. You know that, right? It's not cheap. It's expensive. 87% of my students are my clients, because they failed a course. Then they contacted me. It's a pity. They should have contacted me before that. I'm here right now. Just contact me right now. Let me ask you, do you have any questions? Do you need some free advice? Maybe you think the advice is not important. You know what? It's all important, at least to you, and it will be to me. So click on the link below today. Just contact me and enter your name and your email address, and I will contact you in a few hours. Maximum 24 hours, I'll guarantee to get back to you. Meanwhile, thank you so much for listening and watching listening to me and watching this video. And until next time, goodbye.